Welcome back to the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
Do I have pizza in my teeth? Is it bad? No, that's fine.
Yeah, you're looking good. Looking
All right,
good.
because right before this, I have some pizza. And here's the question. Tim, I know this is a big review, a big episode of the Gamescast, a big chance for us to bring in new listeners and viewers who don't care about us usually. It's a well-known thing at Kind of Funny. Your favorite pizza in San Francisco is Señores. Did they ever do an ad commercial where they were like, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's Señores. Hey, everybody, it's me, Mr. Señore, and I think you should come eat at Señores down on whatever, 19th and Lincoln or whatever.
Yeah, we did sing that a lot. There was no commercial.
Goodbye, new listeners.
Yeah, goodbye, guys. Love you. That voice you hear is the Nitro Rifle himself, Andy Cortez.
Good afternoon, everybody.
It is Christmas in June. Joey Noel.
Hello.
Of course, we got the new face of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Think about how many people made a decision in the first 2 minutes of this episode where they were like, okay, cool. I want to learn more about the new Ratchet and Clank game. And they heard Greg go through his rant and they're like, no, this ain't for me. I'm going to go listen to Skill Up talk about how he feels about the game. I don't need these kind of funny fools.
Yes. Well, despite all of that, we are fortunate enough to have the best voice in the business, Parris Lilly, joining us for this review as well. Thank you for adding some quality to this content, Parris.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to add quality because originally I had a joke queued up about the quest for booty since we're talking about Ratchet and Clank, and I'm just going to skip it and just say quest for booty.
That's all you need. That's the level of quality we're at here, everybody, because this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast where each and every week we get together to talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. If you like that, you can get it on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames or roosterteeth.com. If you want the podcast version, just search your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Gamescast and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free with the exclusive post show, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like our Patreon producers, Donovan Harkness, Omega3, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, and Elliot have done. Thank you all so very, very much. Today, we are brought to you by Purple, Upstart, and Candid, but I'll tell you about that later, because for now, I want to talk to you about something that was provided by PlayStation. Thank you very much, PlayStation, for sending us so many codes, all of us, able to play Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart on the PlayStation 5 computer entertainment system. This is our full review. We're going to start it by going around the group, talking about our history with the Ratchet and Clank franchise and how much we have played of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Blessing Adeoye Jr. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I really, really like Ratchet and Clank, the series. I started with the first Ratchet and Clank on the PS2, and I've hopped in pretty much randomly into the franchise. I've not played every single Ratchet and Clank game, especially the PS3 ones. I've not touched the PS3 ones, and I still want to go back and do that at some point. But yeah, I've played some of the PS2 ones. I've played the Ratchet and Clank remake. Really like all of the games. And then what was the last question about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart?
And how much have you played of it, and what's your status
I've beaten it. I've beaten it. I've done some of the side stuff as well. I don't think I've 100%ed the game yet, but I'm on my way to doing that.
Greg Miller, PlayStation fanboy number one. What's your history with Ratchet and Clank?
It's scattered. The one and only Janet Garcia, contributor over here with us in MinMax, she tweeted, today, I think, as we record this, about like, oh man, yeah, you're either a Jack fan or a Ratchet fan. And that was really the line in the sand. And so for the PS2 era, I was unabashedly a Jack and Daxter fanboy.
Yeah, baby.
So thank you very much, Barry Courtney. I tinkered with Ratchet here and there. Like, I remember playing those games. Obviously, I remember loving the commercials and stuff like that. But I remember doing the original. I remember doing Going Commando, and then it's bouncing around. But then really, I remember obviously starting at IGN in 2007, right? And that really obviously becoming my job. That was what Size Matters. And then on top of that, Secret Agent Clank. And then we get into these weird ones of, Quest for Booty, the downloadable one only. Then you got All for One, and, so on and so forth. I would say from 2007, I played at least some of all of them. But Ratchet and Clank was always one of those games, I think, that I jumped into, fooled around for a while, and inevitably would move on to something else. I appreciated it. I liked it. I really dug A Crack in Time. But yeah, it wasn't something that was like a staple for me.
And what about
to answer your next part of the question, then for the new one, Rift Apart, right? I have platinum this game. I played a lot of this game, and I platinumed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Andy Cortez.
My history with Ratchet and Clank is like my history with a lot of games. I rented them as kids. as a kid. I never like bought the game, never fully beat any of them. Rented them a couple of times. As y'all know, I owned maybe 8 games in my lifetime. Just rented a shitload from the local Hollywood Video. And over the last week and a half, I had finally beaten the 2016 version, PS4 version of Ratchet and Clank. Beat that on PS5, 60 frames, really fun, cool, pretty game. So now I kind of got prepped to know at least who some of the people are in this in Rift Apart. And as far as Rift Apart goes, I fucking marathon that shit over over the last like 36 hours and
shit.
fully beat it.
Nice.
Well, how long did it take you though?
About like maybe 15 hours. I started like at 2 a.m. Saturday night, played until like 6 a.m, and then I woke up like at 11:30 a.m. and then played last night until like midnight.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
Joey, what about you?
So I played a little bit of the 2016 game when it first came out. Never finished it then. Then when the boys were going back to replay it on PS I Love You, I had already started to replay. So I made it all the way to like the last boss fight, which is also where I made it to this time, where I'm just like, oh, this is hard and not as fun anymore. And then I stopped. But now that I know that I'm on the last boss fight for this one, I might actually go back and do it because I felt less defeated by this one. Like I know what I need to do, and it's just figuring out the right combination of things. So I'm close.
Mr. Parris Lily, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I started with Tools of Destruction on PlayStation 3, Quest for Booty, and then I did Crack in Time and the 2016 version on PlayStation 4. And as far as Rift Apart, a little similar to Andy, I was unable to play last week, so when I got back home on Friday, I just marathoned this thing over the weekend, and I actually rolled credits like an hour before we started recording this. But yeah, that's pretty much my history with Ratchet.
And Timothy?
Yeah. I've been a Ratchet fanboy since day one. I remember I bought the game, the first one on PS2, the day it came out, just like by fluke, because I was at Blockbuster and it was $40 and I saw it just there and were just putting it in. I was like, I like my mascot characters. I'm probably going to like this game. And oh my God, I fell in love with it. And since then, I've 100%ed or nearly 100%ed every single game. The only one I haven't played is Secret Agent Clank on PSP. Greg, I don't know if you could recommend that one or not.
You can go watch my review on IGN.com. I don't think you're missing much, sadly. Great idea, a little underbaked.
Yeah. And I loved the PS2 games so much, but really the PS3 ones are where my heart is the most, where both Tools of Destruction, especially Crack in Time, with Quest for Booty kind of just has that fun little interlude between them. I love them so much. And I remember just going in and fully decking out every single weapon, getting it to the top levels, all the stat boosts, like all that stuff. Like it was just such a fun, grindy game where I don't think that there was platinums back then, but I would have got platinums for whatever I did there. And I can tell you now with Rift Apart, I not only platinumed it, I 100%ed the fucking hell out of this game. There's so much to do, and I did every single thing. I have every single weapon all the way upgraded. I have every single bolt. I have all the stuff, and I beat the game fully twice. Once in performance mode, and once on the new game, the challenge mode. It's what they call New Game Plus.
You hate it.
With the RT performance mode. I very much do not hate this game. I enjoy it quite a bit, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about it. But Greg, let's start with you. What did you think about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart?
I adored it. I thought it was amazing. I think that it's my favorite Ratchet and Clank to date. Again, I'd say I've played and finished, scattered throughout, and I think the early ones all run together for me. And then when you start getting to actually IGN and like Crack in Time, I remember, and then obviously we just did the book club for 2016. This game succeeds, I think, on every level that I want a Ratchet and Clank to succeed on. And there's a few things it misses on, but most of the time they're not mandatory, so it wasn't the end of the world for me. I think the weapons are ingenious. I think the game is gorgeous, and I didn't even play it in the 60 frames mode. That got past shit after I'd already platinumed it, and I know you guys have experience with it. But the thing I kept marveling at is that every time I wasn't playing and I'd be watching a cutscene, no matter what was happening, I was like, if I screenshotted this right now, I'd put this up as a background for my wallpaper on a computer. Like, I thought the game looks that good. And granted, that's a cutscene, but I'm talking about cinematography of it, the way it's shot, the way the characters are in the world, let alone the game itself being gorgeous and playing so well and being so tight. And then I was so into this story this time around. It's something I usually really like. I like in my games, and I think for so many times, Ratchet and Clank, not that it's hit or miss, but it's more like on the side, and it still is here, but the Rivet or Ratchet gameplay of it and going through really gave interesting reasons to be playing. I thought, Rivet and a couple of the other Dimension characters from hers outclassed the Ratchet and Clank Dimension we're used to in terms of me wanting to know more about them and their motivations and what was going on with them. I just had a ball with it.
Blessing.
Yeah, I think the game's fantastic. I had such a really good time with it. I think us playing Ratchet and Clank 2016 only a few months before playing this game has done such a good thing, because I can compare them almost side by side in my mind. And this game feels like it takes all the right lessons from 2016 and builds on anything that might have been something that we would have critique for. I think the story is way more involved in this one. I think the combat feels way more quicker and even more involved in this one as well. The environments are bigger that you fight in, and adding the rocket boots. The rocket boots for me are the best addition for me in this game, because they let you get from point A to point B way quicker. They make combat way faster, way more smooth, give you way more variety in terms of how you get around. But then you also have things like the rifts that help you get around as well. And then also that, along with the points that you swing from in the environments, I think the combat feels way better, way more active. The guns, I think, are awesome as well. There are quite a few guns that I feel like are almost clone-ish in terms of the Mr. Fun guy feels just like Mr. Zircon, but isn't necessarily as fun as Mr. Zircon, because it does the same thing but isn't as funny with the voice lines. I think you have that here and there, and that is what it is. But overall, I do like the variety of weapons. I do like some of the new weapons they added. I think that helps the gameplay loop go through smoother. That I think the story is really good. I like Rivet as a character. I like new characters that they introduce in the story. And yeah, overall, like, I think the thing that this game does, one of the things that this game does best is be a showpiece for what the PlayStation 5 can do. The visuals of this game are immaculate. Like, I'm with Greg that any scene I could pause and that could be my wallpaper. That's how good the game looks. It's probably one of the more impressive games that I've seen just from a pure visual standpoint. The game is beautiful, and overall really had a good time with it.
Parris.
So I'm going to start it this way, and I don't think this is the craziest thing to say, but it's just how I feel right now. This is absolutely the best game that I've played in 2021, without question. It's not even close, in my opinion. I will go as far as to say, if you look at the track record of Insomniac, the past 3 or 4 games that they put out, this feels like such a culmination of all of those efforts just put into one, to where I would damn near say they might be the best developer in the world right now. They really might be. Obviously, that's up to interpretation and opinion, but everything that Greg Blessing has already said, I look at the visuals of this game, like I was able to play it in the performance RT mode. It's just stunning. It is absolutely stunning. I put out a tweet, obviously very vague, before embargo, where I said, you ever just play a game and you hit pause and, say, I love this? It's this game. I got to a point where I just had to hit pause and just marvel at everything that I was doing so far in the game. Like I said, you put in the visuals, you bring in the music, you bring in the voice acting. I mean, Rivet, Jennifer Hale, and just some of the other characters that they've introduced here are just standout. Like Rusty Pete, as an example, which is Pierre in this one, in the other dimension. I love that dude. I just absolutely loved him. It was hilarious to me. The gameplay, like you said, the variety of weapons, some of them a little samey, but overall, I was just having fun. And that's the whole point of these things, right? You want to have fun while you're playing a game. It's like I had to kind of rush through. So I'm excited after this to start going back and doing some of the side stuff. Like I would encounter some things like, wait, how do you get that? Then I would acquire a new ability. Oh, so when I go back now, I'll be able to go get this. Things like that. I want to go do these things. Like it didn't feel like a collect-a-thon to me. It felt like something that I want. I want the puzzles that come in. I love the boss battles. I love the story. I think one thing Insomniac has really started to perfect here is when credits roll, I care. I care about these characters. I care about these worlds that they're creating. And like I said, I feel like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is just a culmination of everything that they've been doing, I would say, the past 5 or 6 years. And it's outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Loved it.
Joey.
I am hard pressed to think about anything from the 2016 Ratchet and Clank game that wasn't improved upon in this game. I feel like any gripes I had with anything, I don't know if it's fixed or it's just like the technology has evolved, so it's better. I felt like I was way more invested in the story. I still to this day could not tell you the story of the 2016 Ratchet and Clank. But I was really invested in these stories, these characters. I felt way more motivated to like try out a lot of the different weapons, whereas last time I felt like I had like a very small rotation of ones that I would go to. This time I was like excited to try a bunch of the new ones and just kind of change up my play style and stuff. I loved it. Like I'm sad that I'm so bad at platformers because I feel like that's the thing that gets in the way of it. It's nothing that necessarily the game's doing. It's just that my brain just doesn't operate like that. So it's hard for me to play these games. But they're so fun and just entertaining. And like, I don't know, I feel like connected to these characters, which is so crazy because I feel like I feel more connected to some of the new characters than I do the ones that I've played like an entire game with already. But I really liked it.
Andy.
Fucking shit, man. You know, like, look, like, goddamn, you know, I think this is Insomniac's best game.
Wow.
Top to bottom, front to back. It does. This is as good as a video game can be. I think presentation wise, what it does with characters is really fun. And I actually cared about the story this time around, just like Joe through the 2016 version. I didn't really give a shit what was happening. Right. I was having a lot of fun, granted, but here I definitely cared about the story. Not to say that it's this fucking crazy, grandiose, is that even a word? Grandiose.
Grandiose.
Yeah. It's got me tripping over my words right now. I think just like this is such a complete experience. When I think of the things I didn't love about the Spider-Man games, I didn't love the hacking. I didn't love playing as Mary Jane, or even the Miles sections were just kind of like, I just want to play as Spider-Man, you know, the original Spider-Man, not a Miles Morales. But this does so many cool things when it comes to puzzles, and Lord knows I hate puzzles. I think there's no better thing I can say that I had just spent 5 hours finishing the first game Saturday night and immediately popped this in 2 hours after I'd beaten the first game and was right back into it and could not get enough. And I wanted to keep on playing and thought, you know, I'll just mainline it. I see these are optional. Yeah, screw that. Let me just try to beat the game and try to play as much as I can before the review. But I did those things anyway, and I wanted to keep on playing. And I think the gameplay is fantastic. Again, all the little small quality of life improvements that they've added. I don't know if it was maybe just my controller configuration on the 2016 version, but grappling and attack both being on circle, or I'm forgetting what was on circle, but there were so many moments where I would try to grapple to the little things in midair and I would always hit the wrong thing, and it was just a mess of confusion. All the small things that they've done and added in here have just improved upon the formula. The gigantic big spectacle moments are all there that you expect from the God of War, Uncharted, Naughty Dog sort of sequences, right? Those big sort of moments that have you just jaw on the ground, just blown away by what's happening on your screen. And also from a technical perspective, how is this being achieved? This is fucking bonkers that this is possible right now.
Dude, it's a Pixar movie. It is literally a Pixar movie. That's what I just played. It's incredible.
Like I think about the giant sequence, Paris and God of War, where you're fighting the big giant, and there are those moments where you're kind of falling through the air, and they're super cinematic. And there's several of those moments here, but the gameplay is more involved. And one thing that I also want to add on that's really neat is there are some cool gameplay moments that also lend to the character's development, which is something that I haven't seen a whole lot of. Where I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just going to stop there. But it's kind of an interesting thing where you're used to kind of just doing these mini games and small puzzles, and it feels like busy work. But in here, it's actually adding to the character growing in some way. And goddamn, dude, yeah, I think this is like as 10 out of 10 as a game can be, and I think I would love it way more if I was a Ratchet and Clank fan. And that, like, I think it's just perfect, dude.
I think, and I know I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, but I think you make a great point.
God damn it, Parris. We didn't bring you on this podcast to
what
talk.
am I doing? No, but I think you make a great point. If you're obviously, if you're a Ratchet and Clank fan, instant 10 out of 10. But I think the beauty of Rift Apart, it is going to bring in people that are not Ratchet and Clank fans into this IP, into this universe, because it's just that good. I don't think there's any requirement to have already been a Ratchet history or anything to be able to play this game and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a great jumping on point, right? And I think it's a great onboarding point. And one of the things you said, Parris, that I can't echo enough was what a joy this game is to play. And I mean that from storytelling, sure, gameplay, weapons, yada, yada, yada. But I also mean it in the way that I don't agree with Andy on the mini games. I thought they did have their Mary Jane moment in here a couple times, where there's one where you're, getting rid of some viruses, and another bunch of puzzles for Clank, which is very much Crack in Time like in terms of what you're doing. Hey, oh, look at that. Barrett's got the B-roll ready to go. Yeah. And for the most part, I enjoyed the Clank ones. Towards the end, I was like, all right, can we get going? I know what I need to do. In Glitch, there was certain times where I thought they were just buzzkills in terms of what was going on. And they weren't fun. I wasn't having fun playing them. But
I loved the glitch puzzles.
Well, see, I love that you do.
Interesting to hear everybody.
No, totally. I love that you do, and I love that they're there. But I love more that I did it, you can hit start and skip the puzzle. Like, if you're not having fun in this ancillary thing, go ahead and opt out. And that was the thing where I'm like, all right, I know I just need to get over there and do the thing. Like, I'm not engaged in what I'm doing exactly. I want to get back to the main campaign. This game is designed to do that. And I know we've talked so much in the lead up to this about the accessibility settings of it, how they're on par with what's going on with Last of Us Part 2. Worth pointing out that tomorrow, PS I Love You XOXO is going live. We're going to have Steve Saylor on to talk specifically about that. And as you watch this review, and I'm sure dozens of other reviews today, make sure you hit up immediately patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Get in your questions, because they're going to, Tim, Blessing, and Steve are recording PS I Love You the afternoon this posts to get it up on Wednesday. But what I'm saying is, I think they've done such a great job of giving you a game and saying, enjoy it how you want. And so you enjoy those puzzles, great. I don't, and it doesn't stop my experience. I don't get stuck and go, I don't like this.
Well, on top of that, I mean, like, even just the platinum, I think it's a very well-designed platinum where they are giving you fun tasks to do. And earlier I said I 100%ed it. That's above and beyond the platinum. Like, that is like, they really kind of take most of the tedious stuff out of the platinum stuff. And for some of the trophies, it's not collect all of this thing. It's collect 3 of that thing, collect 4 of that thing. And there's 12 of them. And I like that, because it's kind of like giving you a tease, giving you a sample. You are doing all the different gameplay, but you don't need to go all the way, just like Greg was talking about with the puzzles. If you want to skip it, you can, which I didn't my first playthrough, but I did skip all the puzzles my second one because I already did it. I didn't really need to do it again. I'm just so happy this game exists, because it could not. The fact that PlayStation Studios has a 3D platformer series that they are putting this much love and attention to is so impressive to me. And I'm a little shocked, honestly, and especially for a franchise that has kind of been gone for a while. Like, even if the 2016 game, like, that great game, but it's like, it's not a great Ratchet and Clank game. And like, the story is not good. The story is not what the story was it's not canon. It's definitely was a movie game. And so it's like, it was very refreshing to me to see this game kind of like Parris was saying, be such a good jump on point while still having all the characters from the games like Quest for Booty and all the previous ones. But you don't need to know the characters. They introduce them very well, and like they play with them very well in a way that you're always kind of invested in it all. I can't talk enough about how gorgeous this game is, how well it runs. You guys already talked about all that, but having played the game the first time in fidelity mode, and then the second time in the RT performance mode, it's like, go with RT performance. That is undeniably the way to play this game. Getting the 60 frames per second is fantastic. The ray tracing is gorgeous, and you're not going to miss the resolution. But man, it is just a visual feast, and the weapons are so fun. I love how varied they are, and the clone-y feeling weapons. I was okay with that because by the time I was working on the second one, I had already maxed out the first one. And like the way I play the games is once I max out a weapon, I try not to use it as much so I can keep leveling up all the weapons. So them having multiple versions, quote unquote, of different weapons, I thought was actually a good design because it allowed me to, and I know a lot of people play like me, to keep moving on with different weapons and have similar gameplay experiences, but with new visual gimmicks and a bunch of shit exploding on the screen and all that stuff, which is just constant in this game. I will say though, this game is fantastic, but I do think that I'm a little lower on it than it sounds like a lot of us are. Having said that, I played the shit out of it. This is a Tim Gettys ass game. I think Insomniac are, to Parris's point, one of the greatest developers in the world. I think that they are inching towards number one game after game after game. But I do think that a lot of the moments in this game, I don't want to say let me down, but didn't blow me away. Like Andy was talking about a lot of the big set piece moments. They all felt slow to me. They all felt like I wasn't in control enough, and I felt like they could have used more gameplay. All of the on-rails grinding stuff, which there's a fair amount in the game, it just felt slow. And that stuff was mind-blowing back in 2002 when, that was what a quick time event looked like, and it felt like you were actually playing this movie. But we've done this so many times that I kind of was hoping for something a little bit more from that. And even here, like the Speedle stuff never quite felt thrilling. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, thrilling. Playing Uncharted, getting dragged behind a Jeep, I feel like I'm in that. Even though most of it is just a movie that I'm watching and you're just lightly controlling it, I feel like this game, I never was quite thrilled by the big epic moments. Greg, what's up?
See, I think jumping off of that, like the rail grinding in particular, that's how I felt with Ratchet Clank 2016. And that's obviously fresh in our memory. We just did the playthrough with PS I Love You earlier this year. And I remember that being like, oh my God, why is this so slow? Here, I thought it gave me more to do and it was visually stimulating, let alone, and this isn't a spoiler unless you're on complete blackout, but they showed in one of the, or we've talked about it, right? In some of the B-roll, like when you're grinding around a giant, like basically mech as he's grabbing at you and stuff like that. Like, I felt like that was one of its Uncharted moments. I felt like the opening we've seen before where, Dr. Nefarious rips off the parade floats and Ratchet's hanging on and stuff's blowing away. Granted, you're not in control there as you're holding on. I thought that was another big budget Uncharted moment.
Yeah, I thought the on-rails stuff that kind of switched it up, which again, this kind of goes into the hardware with the PlayStation 5, was as you get later in the game, you could start instantly switching dimensions while you're on rails and you're like in a completely different world, like instantly. And that to me kept the fun going. It didn't just feel like, oh, okay, we've been doing this, the past 10 years. No, it was like, oh no, this is a cool new wrinkle to an old gameplay mechanic that Ratchet and Clank has always had, right? And it kept me engaged in everything that we're doing.
So what's interesting there is that we talked about this when we watched the State of Play thing, and I was saying that one of my fears for the game is that all the Rift stuff is going to be completely on rails, and it is completely on rails, completely. Yeah. There is no choice, and when you're literally on rails in multiple terms here, but when you're grinding on the rails and then going into the Nexuses, there's no option to switch to them if you didn't want to. Like, you have to, or you have to not. Like, there is no in between.
That's true.
And here, this is a different thing, these crystals that transport you back and forth, but this is different. But when you're in these kind of like more scripted moments, I was hoping there was going to be a little bit more like player agency in that stuff, and we don't get that, which is fine because like what the on-rail stuff is great. It just kind of didn't hit the highs that I was hoping for with all the power of the PS5 and all that stuff. I kind of just was hoping they're going to take that stuff a little bit deeper. And again, I'm just being critical of the game that I absolutely did adore, and I think that everybody should play this. But what's up, Wes?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Tim, I think I'm more along the lines of you with how I feel about the game overall, where Like I really like. I think the game is fantastic. I think the game does plenty of great things. I don't think this game is a 10 out of 10. Like I think this game, the thing that's missing for me is the magic when it comes to trying to strive to make a super excellent game. I think it is Insomniac's most refined game. I don't necessarily know if it's their best game. Where you talk about the rifts do feel on rails. The Blizon crystals, where you go back and forth between the different dimensions. I think that's a cool thing, but I've seen that same thing done in different games in ways that are even cooler and better. Dishonored, for example, Titanfall 2, for example, where you're going back and forth from the past to the present. I think there are a lot of ideas here that work because technically they're super good. Like technically they feel so refined and so well done that it's hard to really get on them. But I think there's creativity and the player agency there that is slightly missing that makes this game fall a little bit short of excellent for me.
Can I jump in one thing before you go? Because I right there with you with the crystals and stuff, it reminds me so much. And this is depending on your thoughts of it, but it reminds me a lot of how we thought the medium was going to be. Oh, we can go back and forth between the worlds whenever we want to. No, it's that. So that like hitting the crystals to go between them is very linear because you're going from one point to the other. Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, but what I do want to say is, while I kind of wanted more from a lot of the on-rail stuff and the riffs and stuff, I think that the actual boss battles and the big epic gameplay moments really shine. And that's when we get the Uncharted moments that Uncharted doesn't even have, where when you are actually in control of facing this giant boss with crazy visuals happening everywhere, that it feels like there was no concessions made in the foreground, background, anything going on. It feels like you are in this crazy world with ships flying around and like so many characters everywhere. And as you're fighting the boss, like you switching out all the different weapons, like you feel like a badass and it feels epic. Like the fight we're seeing right here, it's like it really, you feel engaged and there is that agency there. And like at the end of the day, it's like I would much rather the core gameplay be a 10 out of 10, which I think it is here, than the kind of like, to be honest, on rails movie moments that we're just pretending we're playing. And
yeah, and that's the thing that I guess impressed me the most is that there was nothing in this game that made me said, "Oh God, I don't want to do this right now." But I guess I'll just kind of pain my way through it. Like I know Greg didn't love the glitch moments. I love the way the gun felt. It was fun for me. The DualSense actually I thought was fantastic. I played with headphones the whole way. I don't have the 3D audio headphones, but the audio I thought was fantastic. The DualSense actually did a lot of kind of neat, fun things. And again, it's all gimmicky, but it's fun anyway. But I never got to a section, much like in the 2016 version, where you have to fly using the left stick. You're not aiming with the right stick, you're aiming with the left stick. And that was just like the dumbest shit I could have ever conceived, right? Like I couldn't,
baby.
It was awful. It sucked. And anytime we got to one of those, I said, "Oh God, I don't want to do another spaceship shit." Anytime I got to a Clank puzzle in the 2016 version, goddamn, I'm too stupid for this. I hate puzzles. This is why I hate puzzle games. Again, with all of the side stuff, when I compare him, the reason I think that this is Insomniac's best game is that I think that all of the extracurricular activities you're doing in this game that are not main, I am Ratchet or Rivet running through the world shooting shit, I think are so much better than the other side stuff in the Spider-Man games. And for me, I'm just comparing main gameplay from Spider-Man, main gameplay to Ratchet. I think they're comparable. And I like Spider-Man way more as a character, obviously. I love that world way more. But I would have never thought that, shit, I think I'd rather just play Ratchet, honestly, because I love the gunplay. The action's fantastic. Those set pieces are... Now, there's not a whole lot of set pieces, like you were saying, Tim, but I think when they are there, that giant mech robot moment was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then all the side stuff I still thoroughly enjoyed. And I also love that it took me 6 hours to get to a point in the game where a character said, "Hey, I got to do this thing, defend me." Don't let them get to me. I said, "Shit, oh my God, barely? We're barely getting here." Like every other game, you get that every fucking hour, every 30 minutes or so. And it took that long to get to one of those moments I thought was just like kind of like impressive, which is a weird thing to like be impressed by. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of a whole lot of things that would have improved the experience for me. And that's what just kind of blew me away.
For me, there were some side stuff that I wish was way better. Like there's a main story moment and also a side quest moment where you are riding like a mountable flying creature, and I thought the controls for that were bad. Like I did not like how that controlled. You would have to like land in different places. If you're doing like the more side questy one, you would have to explore the map a little bit to find certain things. I thought that didn't work out very well, and I thought the side quests overall, I was desiring more from it by the time I've gone through all the main ones, because a lot of the planets that you're traveling back and forth from, they have like 1 or 2 side quests that you can do per planet. None of them really grabbed me. Like all of them I thought were fine. I don't think any of them were bad except for that flying around one. But those ones left me wanting more, because you have these open environments that look fantastic and that are kind of fun to go around. Like there's a lot of beautiful visuals in there, and they're crowded, or there are crowds in there. But I'll like in the first level that plenty of us have seen, where you're going through and there's the club and there's this nefarious city, I was expecting to be able to do way more in that. And I felt like you had the main stuff, you had the one side quest, and that was it. And I wanted way more from that.
I guess I shouldn't have said side mission. Sorry, I meant more of the non-Ratchet gameplay stuff, which is just like the Miles Morales sneaking missions in the first Spider-Man, the Mary Jane sneaking missions in the first Spider-Man, the hacking stuff. I meant more in this game, which would be the glitch stuff and the Clank sort of. Yeah, these little side missions that you get where you just kind of throw little orbs. I thought they were super fun and involved, and I surprisingly liked all of them. Again, I hate puzzles. I hate anything having to do with puzzles in games, and I had a blast with all of these. So that's what I meant. I should have said that instead of like side missions, because yeah, some of the side missions are just go collect these things, shoot those things, whatever.
But see, I'm with Blessing that I think I wanted more of those. I feel like the optional objectives you'll get on your HUD or whatever when you go to the thing are few and far between. And this isn't a knock as much as I just want more to do in this game because I enjoy playing it, I guess.
Go, Joey.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree with Andy. I thought the puzzles in this game were, because I feel like I'm on the same page with him, as like, I'm usually the one that's like, I have a guide because I'm just dumb and I can't figure this out. And I don't
My brain doesn't work this way.
It doesn't. And so I was like really pleasantly surprised to see that they were like really, they just worked with the way that my brain worked.
They were clever. I thought they were super clever.
The glitch ones I thought were really fun, though I will say that some of the movement for the glitch ones made me feel like kind of motion sickness when you're like flipping
Mario Galaxy
like
type shit.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I can't do this too many times. But I like when games don't make me feel stupid, and I appreciate this.
I like the glitch stuff and also the Clank stuff for the most part. The one thing where I'm kind of with Greg on is I don't like how they take you out of everything else. Like you're doing something completely different from the main game. Like I wish if they were going to find ways to break up the gameplay in that way, I wish they would have found ways to do that within the actual like Ratchet or Rivet gameplay, where it is, okay, here's a different platforming challenge, or here's like a weapon challenge. They got those, but I feel like for the most part, the game really is the game's on fewer gears than it could be, where it is, all right, here's your third person shooting gameplay where you're in the action. Here is you getting from point A to point B. And then here's also like the rift challenges, which are the platforming challenges. And here's the glitching. Did you guys hear that?
What? Yeah, I heard that.
Andy, what did you do? That's the Streamlabs notification when somebody gifted subs. So whoever gifted subscribers right now, that is not on my end, Barrett. I don't have access to that.
Awesome.
Oh, so people are watching Mike and Nick, and they just gifted subs.
What? I don't. That's not.
Why did we hear that?
Yeah.
That was really weird. Parris, you had your hand raised. What were you about to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to pivot on what we're currently talking about, because obviously we all love the game, and I think when you love something so much, we start to get a little nitpicky about things that we didn't like, which totally is valid and makes sense. But I think to Blessing's point, I don't think it's hitting on all gears on purpose, because the Ratchet series, they want everyone playing this. They want this to be a more quote unquote family friendly type game. You want it to be more accessible. So I do think some of the optional things may be a little light for that very reason, because you don't have to do them, number one. And number two, they want to make sure that everyone can engage with this game, get the full story out of it. Obviously, the visuals are off the chain, and just enjoy playing it, just having fun. I totally get what everyone is saying as far as I wish some of these things could have been a little deeper. but I guess I'm not, and this is not a 10 out of, no game should be 10 out of 10. So I won't say that, but I'm
More
not gonna
games should be 10 out of 10.
more. Well,
Ever played Hyper Light Drifter? Come on.
Oh my
Barry.
god.
Have you ever played Mario Odyssey?
Okay.
Uncharted 3.
maybe you're right.
Yeah,
but
Parris,
my point.
yeah. Keep going.
No. Go ahead. I was pretty much done.
I'm with you. I feel like this game, I was talking to Barrett a little bit about it. Like I feel like it is fairly content light, but I don't necessarily mean that as a derogatory in a way for that, because the game does a very good job of making you want to replay certain sections and making it really easy to get back to certain sections. Like going back to the planets, there's a great amount of fast travel. There's the hover boots, like Blessing was talking about, make what would in another game you'd be like, oh, I have to get all the way to that part of the map. Like that's annoying. What Greg was talking about of being able to skip the puzzles once you figure it out. And you're like, I just don't want to do it. I know what I need to do. I just don't want to do it. This game is so good. I think better than any game I've ever seen at kind of giving you multiple ways to go about the task that you are trying to do. And like, you can take the long route and see all the views, or you can just get right where you need to go to collect the thing you're trying to get, pop over to the next thing. And they gave you a lot of options for that. And especially as you go through the game and go back to the different planets, more and more things open up to be able to teleport between the different areas. And I think it's very well designed because the game is extremely linear, like extremely. Yeah. There's one level that has some level of not even open world gameplay, just it's a bigger area.
That's where the boots really shine, right? When it is
exactly.
You want to go get this gold bolt, you want to go get this, a deposit of the raritanium.
Yeah, exactly. But with that, every single time you go back to the levels, even though they're so linear, there's so many good entry points into different parts of that level. So if you really enjoyed a boss fight, or you really not even a boss fight, enjoyed some of the more epic encounters, and by the way, that's something we haven't talked about yet. I think that the scale of some of the encounters are, Andy, you'll appreciate this, and then Parris, probably you too.
Grandiose.
They're grandiose. They remind me of what we thought one of that early mission in Halo Combat Evolved, when you're on the beach and you're going through and you're with all the AI and it feels like a giant epic war, but really it was like 10 people on a beach. Yeah. This really kind of fulfills that promise, where it's like you at certain points are fighting alongside others against tons and tons and tons of enemy, and it feels great and it feels epic. And it's like, if you just want to pop into just that moment of the level again, it's super easy to be able to do and use your old weapons with new forms or like all that stuff. Andy.
To touch on something that Blessing was mentioning earlier about how some of the hacking terminals do take you out, and I only agree with that at the end. There's a moment at the end where Ratchet, like, you're kind of like doing the final stuff, you're on the way, and Ratchet's like, all right, let's head to so-and-so, let's head to this place. Oh, dang, we got to hack this thing. And you go into the hacking thing, and it totally, like, obviously, the momentum is, like, slowed in a way, and you're like, damn, I just kind of want to go do that thing. That's always my issue when games do that. But it's the hacking thing, and I'm having fun, and it's kind of also has this side story that, like, I don't really care about, but I kind of do. It's weird.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and then Ratchet goes, all right, time to go to so-and-so. And like, it's such a weird transition. And I think it's more of a, how do you present this transition? Because you got to assume the people in Insomniac were like, well, fuck, like, what are we going to have Ratchet say when he gets back to this moment? And it's pretty much the same line of like, gotta go take down the blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I don't know, it just feels odd. It feels awkward. So there are a couple of moments like that I agree with Bless that it can kind of slow down those moments.
Transitions are so hard, you guys.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Candid. If you're unhappy with your smile, you don't have to be. Thousands of people have used Candid, the clear, comfortable, and removable, practically invisible aligners to help straighten their teeth, and now they love their smile. Just like Sharon H. from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania does. She says, I wore braces as a teenager. Flash forward 30 years, I had crowding on the bottom and one of my teeth actually stuck out. That's when I made the decision to move forward with Candid, and I finally got my confidence back. You could be just like Sharon. Your treatment is prescribed and closely monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in tooth movement. You'll have the same quality of care you'd get from an in-office orthodontist from the comfort and convenience of your own home, and we all love that nowadays. And while other companies use general dentists, Candid only works with orthodontist. With Candid, the same orthodontist who created your plan is with you from start to finish, so you never have to wonder how you're doing. The average Candid treatment's just 6 months. You'll start seeing results way before then, and it costs thousands less than traditional braces. One of my really good friends, Danny, has used this and loves it in his teeth, looking fantastic. You can become your best you. Start straightening your teeth today. Right now, you can save $75 on Candid Starter Kit. Go to candidco.com/kindafunny and use code kindafunny. That's candidco.com/kindafunny, code kindafunny. Take advantage of this limited time offer to save $75 on your starter kit. candidco.com/kindafunny, code kindafunny. Next up, shout out to Purple Mattresses. As the world becomes increasingly uncomfortable, we're all looking for as much comfort as we can get, and that's why I love my Purple pillow. Joey loves her Purple mattress. We're talking soft, we're talking comfort, and my favorite thing about it all is we're talking about a pillow that never gets hot. You never need to flip it to the cold side of the pillow because both sides are always just perfect for me. I love it, been using it for years, and I will never turn back. Purple is comfort reinvented. Only Purple has the Grid, a stretchy gel material that's amazingly supportive for your back and legs while cushioning your shoulders, neck, and hips. I don't know how it works. It does, and it's awesome. Because of how it's designed, the Grid doesn't trap air. Air actually circulates and flows through it, so you never overheat. And I tend to overheat, so this is great for me. Right now, you can try your Purple mattress risk-free with free shipping and returns. Financing is available too. Purple really is comfort for an uncomfortable world. Right now, you'll get 10% off any order of 200 or more. Go to purple.com/games10 and use promo code GAMES10. That's purple.com/games10, promo code GAMES10 for 10% off any order of 200 or more. Purple.com/games10, promo code GAMES10. Terms apply. And finally, I want to give a shout out to Upstart. When it comes to paying off debt, it can often feel like an uphill battle. High interest rates resulting in minimum monthly payments keeps you in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help you get ahead. Are you carrying a credit card balance month after month? You're not the only one. High interest rates make it hard to pay off your debt, but Upstart can help. Join the thousands of happy borrowers who made that final payment, just like my friend James, who's now in a much better situation than he was before. He used to have a debt in a lot of places, was able to consolidate in one place thanks to Upstart, and now he's fully paid off. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/kindafunny. That's upstart.com/kindafunny. Don't forget to use this URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and other certain information provided in your loan application. Upstart.com/kindafunny.
You did it.
That was really good.
That was a classic
Fresh.
Bo Burnham type of transition right there. I like that too.
To clarify, like my point earlier, because I think I got interrupted by myself as a notification. Like the main my main thing.
Which we still don't know how that happened.
Don't know where that came from.
Yeah, it's honestly scaring me a little bit.
The main thing with my critique for that, even though I liked the actual gameplay of it because I like puzzles and I think that stuff overall worked, my main thing is that it felt like they were answering to, well, the main Ratchet gameplay, the Ratchet and Rivet gameplay is just the third person shooting and getting from point A to point B. And sometimes the platforming challenges, which I thought were overall pretty fine. Like, aside from that, you're pretty much doing the same thing over and over. Like, it gets kind of repetitive in the main Ratchet gameplay, and it felt like those were their answer to kind of switch things up.
Break it up.
Which, yeah, to break it up, which overall I think works. I think is a fine solution, but I don't necessarily think was the best solution. I wish there was more variety in the actual Ratchet and Rivet gameplay itself. Like, I wish the pacing from what you're doing in one level to the next level was a little bit more varied, because as you mentioned earlier, the level where you're going through a big environment and doing the three things, and the boots are really good for that level when you're exploring and hanging out. I think that's an example of doing it right. I think the Nefarious City toward the beginning was an example of doing it right, of like, you know, walk around the city a little bit, go to the club, and you can kind of hear where the club's at based on the 3D audio, which is pretty cool. I wanted more of that. Like, I wanted more of the world feeling like a world as opposed to very linear paths that I'm taking through in this very linear game. I think the fact that it's linear is fine. I think you're good to make a linear game, but I think there are a few things they could have done here and there to really make the world feel broader and more explored. You know, like, what if instead of one side thing or one side objective in a planet, there were 3 or 4, so you're talking to a few more characters in a planet. I feel like that would do so much more for building out and really making this world feel like a world, as opposed to making it feel really like a video game.
And that's definitely possible, but I think just one thing I really appreciate about what the game does, I think personally the game is paced like pretty perfectly. What I mean by that is no gameplay section feels like it overstays its welcome, in my opinion. Like I never felt like, damn, this should be over by now. And I've felt that with a lot of video games. There are tons of video games that seem like they do that. But I never really felt that here. And I thought that when the game needed to slow down, or when I didn't think it needed to slow down, and it did, I was like, damn, this is a good, nice little change of pace. There's some moments in between that slow down and are kind of creepy and freaky, which I wasn't expecting. And that was really damn cool. And you get kind of moments to chill out and there's not a million explosions all over the place. I don't know. I thought the game just did a fantastic job with sort of mixing things up when it needed to. And that's one thing I appreciated about it.
See, I appreciate that everything we're saying, we're talking about, but to Blessing's point that it could feel more immersive versus just feeling like a video game. I think that it commits to feeling like a video game. And I think that I like that. And I know you do too, Bless. I'm not saying that you hate this game. It's not like Miles Morales for you. I understand. Yeah. Man, you just don't like Insomniac games, it turns out.
That's crazy.
Insomniac, my least favorite developer.
Wow. For this one in particular, like I appreciate that this is a Ratchet video game, which is a video game I feel has always been very in your face about being a video game, about getting this gold bolt, about upgrading your weapon, about replaying again. I appreciate that it's a modern take on that. And I think it's the quality of life features we're all talking about, whether it's skip the puzzle or accessibility or performance mode, things like that, or, you know, being able to dial in difficulties or whatever you need from it, mixed in with the fact that, yeah, it is linear and it is this thing. And I appreciate that I'm left as somebody who's platinumed the game wishing there were more characters for me to run around and do things with. There was more challenges for me to run around and do. And they're there if I want to go get them, right? Back to Tim's thing of like, this is an excellent trophy list because it isn't the, you know, I when I got the platinum here, I was like, man, maybe I should download the Ratchet Clank collection to my Vita and maybe try to platinum those. And I looked at it and it's like, you know, get 1 million bolts or whatever. And the trophy guide's like, well, if you put a rubber band on your thumbstick for 5 hours, like, fuck this. You know, like, this is a game that knows it's a game and I think is perfected trying to be a game, which I appreciate.
There's one bad trophy.
Which one?
The bear one.
Oh, that's like that's bad for you and me, like pre-release. Once that's out in the public,
but that's why I haven't platinumed it yet. I'm waiting for the guys to come out so I can do that one.
There's one collectible item that doesn't come up on your map. So you just don't have any idea where the things are, and there's some in every level. And I just don't like that for the way the rest of the game is designed and the way the rest of the trophies are designed. It's like they very clearly are telling you what you need to get and where to get them and how to get them and all that. And then there's just this one X factor. It's like, all right, like, so I need to find a guide to get this. You're not just going to come across these organically. Some of them are just like a little obtuse. And it's like, you're not really like led. There's no hints. There's no clues. There's no direction. It's just, if you get lucky, you come across it.
You're not wrong. I mean, like, you know, the people I was talking about who were hunting ahead of time were doing the same thing I did with Last of Us collectibles, where it's like go into accessibility, turn on colorblind mode, things will pop that way or whatever. But what I appreciate about that is the same thing I appreciate what you're talking about you, the fact that I platinumed it, but you 100%ed it, right? Like that there is an added level of, if you really want to go get all the gold bolts, you can. You don't have to, you can. It's the same thing here where I feel like if you're the Ratchet and Clank fanboy, fanatic, if you're kebabs, right? Like you just want to be playing this game nonstop. I feel like you don't go look at that guide. You do want to go into every nook cranny and try to find it on your own. Or if you're me and just want to get the platinum, you take the guide and you bust it out in like all of 20 minutes because you're warping around and then going to where you need to go.
Feels like semantics, but I just think that when it comes to it being a trophy versus what you're talking about, just the 100% stuff. If it was just the 100% stuff, I'd be like, totally cool. That makes sense. But it being a trophy and all the other trophies being so well defined, I think is just an issue just because it stands out. Because I think that they really did a good job with creating a game that really incentivizes you to keep playing after you beat it. And, you know, platinuming is a thing that Greg Miller loves to do. It's not a thing that everybody does. So I think that for a game to really kind of incentivize normies to want to go that extra distance.
Well, don't ever call me a normie. Okay.
I saw you dashing and parrying. I would never call you a normie, Andy.
Thank you. Oh my God, that sniper at the end. Oh, baby, clicking heads. Oh, it felt so good. Felt so good.
But yeah, I enjoyed that stuff quite a bit.
while we're on this topic, I tried using Game Help for some of that stuff that's built into the PlayStation 5 system. I thought that could have been done a little bit better. You know, they might maybe add more after the game comes out. I don't know how that process entirely works, but for what's there right now on the road to platinum, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, there are quite a few things that weren't main quest stuff that just didn't appear in the Game Help because it seemed like it was geared toward the main quest. You know, which is fine if they want to do that, but I don't know. I wish that stuff was better. I know this isn't necessarily a game complaint, but it's a PlayStation first party game.
I was going to say, this is a PlayStation Studios game that's being used to sell you on the PlayStation 5, the DualSense, and everything in between. Like, yeah, I think it's a worthy call out there. So, yeah, Parris.
What you just said, Greg, it was a point I wanted to bring up. When I just think about this game overall, when I just think about being this early in the generation, and I think about obviously what we got at launch with Astro's Playroom, you had like Demon Souls, obviously we just had Returnal. I've thought this before, and now that I've played it, this pretty much confirmed it. This is the reason you own a PlayStation 5 right now in 2021. It's this game. Because those other games aren't necessarily for everyone. Whereas I think the beauty of what Ratchet has done is they've made this inclusive for any type of gamer can pick up the stick, start playing this, and they're going to have fun with it. I think that's the best compliment that you can give the game. It's for everybody. And I had a blast with it. Again, like I said at the top, I just think about the writing team. I think about the voice acting. I think how it's using the 3D audio. I think how it's using the DualSense. Obviously, the visuals, the gameplay. It just feels like the complete package of why you would want to own a PlayStation 5.
And to add on to that, Parris, I think that after just, again, beating the 2016 version, I think this game kind of tones down that PG rated Borderlands humor like just enough, right? Because I got kind of tired of that vibe in the 2016 version where everything is just everybody's a crazy character and they all have a wacky voice actor and they're maybe saying one-liners that are just not hitting. I think this game definitely did better with the writing. I think it could have been better still, right? But I do think that this game toned down that sort of that just silly humor that you just kind of roll your eyes at. It's like, somebody's laughing at that, but I'm not. Like, I'm just not feeling this humor right here. But it definitely worked a bit more for me this time around. And I think it was toned down enough to where it wasn't obnoxious.
For fans of the more classic Ratchet and Clank games, this game is entirely in line with those. It is not at all like the 2016 game. So I was really impressed with how much they can just get right back into that, having the last game in the last decade really being the 2016 one. But I was very pleasantly surprised with the love they gave to the old characters, the way they made them accessible to new players as well. But to have that writing be a little bit more for us, even though I agree with you, Andy, there still were moments that didn't hit, but that's comedy for you, right?
Yeah. Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did the 2016 version, I should know, I just fucking played it, but did it tell you bios of all the characters? Like, did you have that in the options? Because I enjoyed that. No. I enjoyed having that here. As somebody who doesn't know who 80% of these characters are, now granted, a lot of the people in the bios are just random enemy spawns, but the characters from past games that I don't remember at all because I rented it over a weekend where I was just shoving Pizza Hut in my face as a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old or whatever. I enjoyed having those bios there and being able to just read a snippet on who that character is and what their past is with the whole gang and just adding more context. Because, now granted, this isn't some gigantic Mass Effect Destiny style lore dump, right? There's not all these crazy things you have to read and catch up on, but it's about a paragraph long and you just read, oh, okay, that's who that person was and that's what they're okay, cool.
Feels kind of Mass Effect-y.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm playing it right now too, but
pretty good game.
I like that they didn't shy away from a lot of the Star Wars influences. Like when you go from planet to planet, it feels very much like it is this basic, not basic, but like this fun I guess mascot version of Star Wars, even when you get into the naming of the planets and everything.
The wipes also.
The wipes, I mean, it's literally a resistance story, right? It is literally a Star Wars story where you're fighting an emperor. And so I love that they didn't shy away from that. I will say about the story, I feel like some elements of the story felt like they were repeats of earlier Ratchet and Clank stories in terms of like character relationships and overall arcs. Felt very much like earlier Ratchet and Clank games. I couldn't tell if that was a, hey, we're doing this on purpose as like an homage, or if it is kind of that loop that Ratchet and Clank kind of gets into. But now after playing the first Ratchet and Clank and then Ratchet and Clank 2016, the remake, and playing this one, I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, cool. It would be nice to have them, I don't know, like steer in a left, like take a left turn in story and do something completely different. That is still in the Ratchet and Clank world, like still Ratchet and Clank, but something that feels less iterative off of the stories that we've gotten before. Like, I don't know if you guys feel what I'm saying there, but
yeah, totally.
I have no backstory. I have no basis for it. Sorry, Bless. I don't got your back right there.
But you just want new, yeah, where it's not like there's always a tie to something that's come before, kind of thing.
One thing I do agree with Parris is that no game is a 10 out of 10. This would be if it had a parry mechanic, honestly. Like, now that I think about it, add a parry in there, totally 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I was thinking like you might
put
like
up the shield and you grab the bullets and you shoot him back. That's not a parry enough for you?
And I bought that gun at the end because I had a lot of money, but I saw that weapon. I was like, I don't need that, dude. For me, it's the blades. We got the ricochet.
Andy Cortez. It's a new episode of Nicknames where Andy's going to name all the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart weapons.
We got the ricochet. Ricochet's hot. The sniper at the end is fantastic. God, man, this game.
That's a great question.
I had
what
so
was
much
everybody's like loadout? What did you actually use the most?
Well, is this kind of spoiler? Do we get kind of spoiler here?
To talk about weapons, I don't feel like that's that bad.
I don't think so either. I mean, like, there are a couple weapons that don't talk about, but we know that.
Well, yeah, there's that one very specific one. I think that.
Yeah. But besides that,
I thought Ricochet was really cool. The sprinkler, torpedo sprinkler that changes the gear as you level it up or whatever. Like, that was the shit, man, of putting it out and watching you turn people into hedges or whatever that you can then shoot. I was using the blast pistol a lot. That was the first thing I upgraded, so I stuck with that a long time.
I like the executor or an enforcer. I like the enforcer a lot. It's like a shotgun. It's the shotgun that they made purely so they can show off ray tracing. It's great.
I fully upgraded the shotgun. I fully upgraded the sort of grenade launcher type things. Fully upgraded the sniper, and the war machine or whatever the hell it's called, the rocket launcher. Really, really good.
Yeah.
I love the ricochet though quite a bit, and I still don't really even know if I figured out the correct timing on it. You get sort of bonus damage if you time the hits correctly. What it is essentially, you shoot out a shot and then you click the trigger more, and the shot kind of goes through them back and forth, and you can time it really well to get more damage. I never really fully figured that out, but it didn't hinder my experience because
it's just going in with the rhythm of it, because it's got like pinball noises, so you're trying to line them up
ding,
with
ding,
that.
ding, ding.
Yeah,
I never figured it out, so I stopped using it. I was like, I'm not doing this right. There's 17 other weapons or whatever. Like,
I have other things to waste my time with.
The electrocution.
My thing is, I didn't
have a
lightning
loadout.
One's
my favorite.
Yeah, lightning was awesome. I really enjoyed the majority of the weapons here. I think that the shield one, the void dispenser or whatever it's called, was my least favorite. Just because I didn't really like how it worked out. It felt like it didn't do enough damage for how much timing it required to get right. But I think that like so many of the weapons were fun, where I was never bummed having to level up a weapon. And I think that there have in some previous Ratchet games been ones where I'm like, oh, I just want to get this over with. But this one really was fun to switch through. I think the amount of ammo they give each weapon is almost perfect. Like, it's so well designed to keep the gameplay fun and engaging, so that it's challenging, but it's never like too hard. But then also it's incentivizing you to switch between all the different weapons in a very, at this point, classic Insomniac way when it comes to, Sunset Overdrive or the multiple Spider-Man games we've had. And here it really, really is refined and works really, really well, like no matter what weapon you're playing with. And I love that there's multiple ways to upgrade the weapons. There's a level system for each one. Then as you beat the game, more levels unlock. And then on top of that, like, the weapon's name changes, which changes some of its properties. Then there's also skill trees for every single weapon that as you play through the game, as you get the different levels, more and more skills unlock. And there's just a lot. And it's really cool to be able to look at the skill trees. Super easy to understand like what each thing does. But this game does two things extremely well, and it's the two things Ratchet and Clank games need to do in order to be fantastic. And that is, collecting bolts needs to feel absolutely like the best thing in video games, and it
ray
does.
tracing on the bolts.
That, but even just the sound of them flying to you and like feeling it in the dual sense, all that, it's just so satisfying. Like we play video games to see numbers go up and see all that stuff. And I think that this game does a very good job both of just having the effects of what the PS5 allows with the 3D audio and all that stuff and the visuals looking and sounding better than we've ever seen. But then on top of that, like the skill trees and all that, every single time you get a skill point to unlock something, I can't wait to get back to Mrs. Sircon to
100%.
upgrade something. And it's like, that's the loop of video games. That's what this game needs to nail
and
it.
it's
slow-mo of leveling up, fantastic. Just feels great every time.
Yeah.
An instant gratification.
Jumping off of what you're talking about, Tim, like, not to spoil stuff, but like, you're getting gold bolts, which of course, unlock special optional things. And like, you can replace the bolts. I replaced the bolts with the overdrive cans from Sunset Overdrive or whatever, and played for hours like that because I thought it was just a cooler visual.
I had rubies in mine.
Yeah, right. And then on top of that, like the one thing we haven't talked about is, the pocket dimensions, which I know you referenced when we were talking about side stuff for Glitch and we were talking about side stuff for Clank. But the pocket dimensions are there, right, as little mini challenges for Ratchet or Rivet that as you go through, you're guaranteed to get a piece of armor because there's armor sets throughout the game that have 3 pieces for them. And when we had heard about them, I thought they were cool because they come with obviously stat bonuses. But I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's lame that you have to be wearing it to get the stat bonus, when in fact it's not that way. Like just collecting them adds those bonuses and keeps them active to you. And then on top of that, when you find a set you like, being able to put it on and go in and change the colors of it to really customize it to your character. It's little touches like that, again, that I think the game knows it's a game. It is a very much, I am making a video game, and how can it be the most enjoyable experience for you to play?
You felt like a badass with like getting the right sets of armor looking just right, and maybe I'm going to color scheme Rivet to look this way. I'm going to color scheme Ratchet to look this way. But I unlocked this new helmet, and it doesn't really let me do a whole lot of colors. All right, we're just going like full kind of chromed out, like gunmetal.
Full ray tracing, baby.
Oh my gosh, I had so much fun with all the customization aspect.
I want to talk about the soundtrack because the soundtrack in the game is
freaking
phenomenal.
dope.
Like
Dope.
it does. In the preview we did, they talked about the composer being the composer from Thor Ragnarok, and them wanting to kind of invoke some of that energy. And I feel like they nailed it. I think that the soundtrack is
the glitch sections were so sick.
Yeah.
The music in those, if you take, it's got a certain tempo, and then it kind of goes halftime with its drum beat, and it sounds so sick. It's like, God, I just want to like pause this and just kind of listen to it because it's fun and it's involved, but it's not like, it doesn't take you out of the moment, but it's very, very good. Very good.
The synth stuff really, really worked for me. I loved it a lot. It was very Thor Ragnarok, and that fits the aesthetic of the game and the missions, especially that they're in so well. And Andy, earlier you were referencing there's like some more kind of like thrillery moments in the game, and I think the music there was like really unnerving and really perfectly kind of set the scene for where we were at. And the epic combat music that we get towards the end of the game for sure, and then in a lot of the combat arena stuff is like 10 out of 10, where I'm like, this is so hype, so great. I do think the majority of the score in the game doesn't sound that high quality, and like that's a Tim thing, but like I just gotta call it doesn't feel like a real orchestra, and I feel like it for a game that looks this great, I thought the music sometimes sounded a little lesser
digital.
It sounded digital. It sounded more MIDI electric keyboard as opposed to like bombastic violins and trumpets and all this stuff. And it took me out of it a little bit because when the polish is so high, that stuff matters that much more. There are a couple that I think are fully orchestrated. I could be wrong about that, but there's some stuff that really stood out, like the final fight scene.
There's also the point where when you're in a nefarious city, the club there, the way that you can feel that in the DualSense, one of the dopest uses of the DualSense yet, because it basically like pulses through the controller and it feels great.
Yeah. I wanted to mention just how kind of worried I was hopping into this franchise, because obviously it's 2016 was a remake of a 2002 game, but with a new lens or whatever, and it's a mascot platformer, and I think we think about those games in such high regard because that's just our nostalgia. But after playing Returnal this year, I was like, how can this game feel, right? I feel like I played one of the best third-person shooters I've ever played having played Returnal this past year. And I was just really kind of worried about, will this gameplay hold up? The 2016 version. I was like, shit, this actually does work. And then Insomniac found a way to make it even better and more involved and fun. And it becomes so erratic at moments, but in the best way possible. Like you are it is pure chaos, and I have full control of what is happening at the moment. I know what weapon I'm going to use on that mob who's behind me because I can hear him because the audio is fantastic. But I'm going to snipe this person right here. Like it's just perfect, dude. I found the gameplay to be just immaculate, man.
I think you bring
real
up
quick
a great
off that.
point.
I just want to say with the audio of what Andy's talking about, this game undeniably, hands down, is the best 3D spatial audio I've ever experienced in a game.
100%.
Like I multiple videos, and even on the Sony side where they really focus on this stuff. Even the Resident Evil games where Capcom recently has done a really good job. The spatial awareness of where shots are coming from or where enemies are, especially because of how much they talk and how much like quips are happening from the enemies, and just the sounds and how the all the sound effects are so well done and appropriate and cartoony and over the top that you really know exactly where all these things are, even if they're flying around you or whatever, and you feel it in the DualSense too. It's like, it's again, I've said this recently with I forgot what the game was, but it's like feeling the shaking is part of the sound experience, and having that DualSense with the 3D audio, whether with headphones or even with the surround sound stuff, I was blown away by how much more engaging it made combat because you felt like you were in the arena. Sorry, Parris, go for it.
No worries at all. You're spot on with the 3D audio. Completely agree. But the one thing I was going to pivot off of what Andy was saying is with the weapons, like again, the gameplay, they really encourages you to switch between your arsenal of weapons as you're going through various encounters, and my dog clearly agrees. Like as an example, you know, I would have this loop of where I would come into an encounter, I'm throwing down the sprinkler, I'm hitting him with the lightning, and then I'm hitting him with the shotty after that, rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? And it just wants you to get into that practice of using all the different weapons, figuring out different ways to chain them together. My dog just completely agrees, so I'm gonna stop talking and mute.
Within the same topic of weapons, I do love some of the shouts that the enemies do that will be in context of, oh, he's got the enforcer, or, oh, he's doing this weapon, or oh, what is that bouncing around, and they literally reference the way you're playing. I thought that was really cool and not something I've seen as much of in video games lately, and so that was a really dope thing.
I noticed that a lot in the 2016 version, and so
they do that as well.
Yeah, they do that quite a bit where they'd be like, "Oh, you're using a whatever rocket. How'd you get your hands on that?" So like, there's a lot of references like that, and I'm so glad that those are here as well. There's one thing that is just super tiny and doesn't matter at all, but I kind of missed it. Was when you're walking on those platforms with your grav boots or whatever, your whatever magnet boots, the tiles would sort of shift and suck up to your feet when you're walking on them in the 2016 version. They don't do that here, so this game is a no buy for me.
Wow.
Wait for Game Pass or whatever it is. Y'all say.
As we're wrapping up here, I do want to give a major shout out just to the technical aspects of this game, not just how beautiful it is, but just how well it runs. It doesn't hitch at all in either of the modes that I played in. I did have some weird like T-pose things, and like the game crashed for me once, but besides that, it loads so quickly. No matter what you're doing, it's like I don't even know. I noticed loads. Like if you die, you get right back into it. With all the Rift stuff, it is so seamless, and it's like the flashes happen and you're just somewhere else. And I was blown away the entire way through of like just how fast everything was happening.
And really quick, with the gameplay that we've been showing, I know there's some chugging. That is definitely like an OBS problem with VLC and stuff. So don't look at that and be like, oh, like it doesn't look that great. Like on my end, at least, it looks really dope.
I had I had one crash. I had a moment where Ratchet's right arm was missing, and then I just reloaded and it was fine. It was more of like the right hand that's holding the gun, all that section was gone. And then there was a moment that I kind of broke things, and the way that Ratchet would look in the game engine, he has like the white proxy cube underneath him to kind of show this is where the player is located. That popped up a couple times. So wherever I would jump and run around, this white cube was just underneath my character the whole time. And I reloaded and it was fine. Again, I'm shocked by just the polish of this. I know that we shouldn't be surprised that Insomniac is constantly putting out games that are really insanely high quality, but I don't know. I'm kind of just used to games coming out and us talking for 20 minutes about the bugs. And it's great. The game works fantastic.
I do have quite a few things to say about bugs, because I don't know why I feel like I have like a unique experience with Insomniac games when it comes to bugs. Because Spider-Man Miles Morales, And now this game, I have had consistent bugs in where it is like it goes beyond crashing, where it is like T-posing stuff or Spider-Man will go through a wall. This game, the recurring bug I had was in one level. There was a door that was supposed to open, there was a door that an enemy would come out of, and for some reason the enemy would never leave that door, and that door would close. And so the next thing I was supposed to do after that wouldn't open. And that happened to me like 5 times in a row after I reloaded. And basically what I needed to do was I needed to get to that door and kill that enemy before the door would close them in order to make it, in order to get to the next thing. And that was a place I was stumped at for a little bit because at first I didn't know. I was like, why isn't this next thing opening? And so I'll run around the level, try to figure it out. But that was the thing that happened to me consistently in that point. And then there are like a few other things that were just random, like Ratchet would get stuck in geometry. I would try jumping over something, I would get stuck in a rock. Like that shit would happen, but it was never game breaking. It was never like this is ruining the experience. It was mainly that one time where it kept happening, where I was like, "What the fuck is going on with this right now?"
Oh, Clank got stuck in one of the puzzle things when it smushes you down. Clank, no, he didn't die. He just was in there, and like I could just kind of jump, and I wasn't able to get out. But I just ended up reloading. But there's a moment towards the end of the game that I almost texted Tim and Greg, similar to how I did during Fallen Order, when I was like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do here?" And like you walk up to this door and then a red X pops up in front of you. I'm like, what? Am I supposed to like camouflage as a robot? And like, how am I not getting in this fucking door? And I was like,
circle, baby.
Hour 1, they taught you that you could dash through these doors. Like, God, I'm a fucking idiot. I was so confused. I was straight up doing like some Mario 64 speed hack shit where I was running in places you're not supposed to be, trying to find the way around. I was like, this game, like, what are you doing right now? This is awful. I was like, oh, I could dash through the.
I had a very similar thing where I texted Blessing. I was like, have you finished this game yet? Because I couldn't figure out how to fly over this water section. And I was like, oh, it's the dumb snail thing. And I just didn't see the spawner like literally right in front of my face. But then bug wise, I had like my HUD disappear for like a couple boss fights. And then like the health bar just wasn't going down for one of them.
All right, y'all. So the game's like broken as shit. Jesus.
Oh, you know what? I did have like the same thing where my health bar wasn't appearing, and then I had a different one where it was not showing me my ammo at all.
Yeah. So I was just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna keep going.
You're playing it wrong. Y'all are playing it wrong.
This is
like,
also us before
something I
like
didn't even think about until you guys
patch.
brought this up because it was such not a major issue compared to the rest of the game.
Oh, you played before day 1 patch.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, I think we
That
all
makes
played
sense.
before. Oh yeah, because you hopped in.
The day 1 patch came out, and I got the email. I was like, I should start this game, huh? Because fuck, like, time really went by.
Well, let's close this out. I highly recommend this. I think this is a must-play video game. If you have a PS5 or can borrow someone's PS5 or get your hands on this any way, shape, or how, I think it's entirely something that is worth the money. $70 is a lot of money, and I do think that this is pretty content light for that, but I think the polish of everything that is there is entirely worth it.
1000% agree. I think it's like Parris said earlier. I think it's the best game I played this year. It's just a Returnal so far. That's like game of the year for me.
Right.
Yeah, I love this game. Highly recommend it. Like it's not my game of the year, but it is in that top 5. Like it is in the running for one of the best games this year for me. And there are things here and there. Like I think performance wise, visually, all that stuff, I think that stuff is 10 out of 10. There are some things on the game design level that I wish was done a little bit better, but overall I think it makes for a fantastic product that people will have fun with and for sure be satisfied with.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic game. I think if you have the means to get it, you should get it for sure. I think it's definitely going to be a shortlist for game of the year.
Right.
Agreed.
Yep.
Why are you
I
on a
think it's so
PlayStation
fun.
5? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, there we go, everybody. This has been our Ratchet and Clank review. Like Greg said, this game has been provided by PlayStation for review, but like Greg said, tomorrow we will be doing the PS I Love You that is answering all of the questions you might have about the game. So please get those in at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. And speaking of patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, if you are a supporter over there, stay tuned for our exclusive post show. But for everyone else, I love you guys. Stay tuned here for E3, all that stuff. It's going to be a great time. Love you. Goodbye.